All right, it looks like our last few stragglers are on, so let's go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webcast with CountyWorks Pro. My name is Alexa Myers, and I am the marketing manager here at CountyWorks Pro. Today, we will be discussing tips on how to market your tax and accounting practice in the digital age. So first off, I'd like to introduce Lee Reams II. He's our CEO and founder here at CountyWorks. So Lee, why don't you jump in and get started?
All right, thank you, Alexa. I'm excited always to talk marketing with tax and accounting professionals. A little background on myself and why we are here to talk about marketing. One, we've been in this industry for many, many years. We know it well. We have been one of you, so we understand what it's like to be a smaller independent practice and the challenges that you face. I know today there's a lot of disruption, a lot of fear out there, and we're really here to kind of help you find a game plan on how to adapt in the future. Previously, we had started a company called Image One, which you might be familiar with. We grew that to about 40,000 customers and sold that some time ago as we transitioned into the digital age. So we are now very versed in what works, what doesn't on the digital side, and we're going to try to share some tips with you today that kind of give you some better guidelines on what you need to look out for and position your practice for the future. So before I get too deep into the material and kind of what we're going to talk about today, if you're not familiar with CountyWorks, we are a marketing automation software provider. We have thousands and thousands of clients. We run both the taxbuzz.com marketplace site for tax preparation, IRS tax problems, and the CountyWorks.com virtual accounting kind of small business related marketplace. So we are well versed in how tax and accounting firms should market their practices. And we have a full suite of products. So we're not just a website company per se. We definitely understand all the elements that it takes to create a successful digital brand. Also with us today is Steve Anderson. He's one of our marketing experts and consultants. I just want to introduce him. You'll hear his voice jump in throughout the presentation. So hey, Steve, why don't you say hello?
Well, hello. Thanks for joining us today. Just if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. One of the slides that you're looking at right now, it kind of gives you a little insight on what we do. Building more, like Lee was saying, is building more of a client communications system. So Lee, why don't you go and take over, and let's see if we have any questions down the road.
All right, you got it. So a little bit about the webcast. Some of you are looking for continuing education, so there is a component of that. It will take approximately 1 hour. We usually try to run around 50 minutes, and then afterwards we have a Q&A that can last as long as it needs to. We do have polling questions. There are 4 polling questions. If you're a CPA and looking for CPE credit, you need to answer 3 of them, and you need to stay on the entire 50 minutes. As I said, there's a Q&A at the end. We did design this webcast for independent tax and accounting practices, primarily US-based, but the reality is a lot of these principles can be used by firms throughout anywhere, basically. So CPE credit, just to say it again, you must be a CPA. We deal with the accreditation, and they don't allow marketing for enrolled agents and things like that for CPE credit. You will get 1 hour of credit, and again, you need to be on the webcast for at least 50 minutes. So let's get into today's agenda. We're going to talk about a little bit about what has changed, right? So what's going on in the tax and accounting industry. The section number 2, the client lifecycle, I think is a different way. What I want to accomplish by highlighting this is it's a little bit of a high-level marketing side. So there, it might be some. We're not going to get into super details, but I think it's important you understand. What is the process that people go through when they decide to work with a professional? How do they find you? How do you communicate with them? And then kind of the full life cycle, how they become influencers and referrers for you. So section number 2 is going to be really important. We're going to go into it in kind of a higher level, but we definitely can talk more about it at another webinar. Number 3, how to get more referrals. It's a huge piece, right? Obviously, our businesses are built on referrals. We're going to talk about how to get more. Number 4 is an important thing because a lot of times we see newer firms wanting to just jump out of the gun and start paying pay-per-click and Facebook campaigns, Google campaigns, and honestly just blowing through budgets and sitting at the end of them going, oh my, all the money's gone, and what have I accomplished? So we're going to talk about kind of the difference between organic and PPC. Number 5 is how to build out your digital footprint. We're going to give you some really good takeaways there that you can utilize after this webcast. Number 6 is kind of a big thing that people don't think about, is how do you use technology to foster your client relationships? And a lot of the millennial, the younger generation is expecting technology when they deal with you. So if you are not utilizing it or making it easy for them to work with you, they probably will work with someone else. So I think it's a big element that people are forgetting as the kind of demographics change. 7, about building brand trust with security. I think that is a big thing, especially in spaces where you have personal financials, documents, tax issues, things like that. And then I think number 8 is something that people forget. It's about commitment and patience. Digital footprints, building digital footprints is something that takes time. This is not something that happens in 30 days, and it builds upon itself. And what's great about it is it really becomes kind of evergreen. It continues to deliver years and years after you've started. So let's get into the meat of this thing. So the digital age is here. Obviously, and we're not there's some vendors out there are doing all these crazy fear things, and we do monthly web chats, and we talk about are people bullish on their future, and even on the recent tax season, what's happening, what do you guys think? And the reality is, I think the role of the tax and accounting professional is very, very important. We'll have some data here. We did a survey with small businesses. We did 2,500 small businesses, and we asked them who is the most important advisor to their business. And as you would hope, the accountant was number 1 over lawyers and business consultants and other type of people. And I think that trust, that relationship is not going to change in the future. So what you need to do as a tax and accounting professional is really start rethinking the way you run your business. So you need to evolve it. And we say here traditional marketing no longer works. That's kind of maybe a little bit of a harsh comment. Certain things obviously still work. Many companies are still building themselves on just their normal referral funnels. But the reality is, if you are not adapting to the digital side, 100% you're going to start losing market share, and customers are going to start demanding it. So let's get into it. What has changed? Consumer buying habits. Obviously everyone has Amazon.com. We know what Uber is. So all these different technologies have disrupted other industries. The use of the internet is doing the same thing to us, right? So people now, even if they were referred to you, they're going to search, they're going to search your name and look up, what do other people say about you, right? And that is going to just make a decision of whether or not they decide to work for you. So you might be receiving referrals right now and not even getting phone calls and having no idea why that is happening. So that his entire process is happening behind the scenes, and you might be losing out on business today because you have not adapted to some of these digital strategies. So that's issue number 1. Location. We see it all the time in our current mindset of accountants is, we'll send them a prospect that might be 30 miles away, or maybe it's 60 miles away, and I can't work with them because they're too far away. The reality is there's people that are choosing people out of state, out of country. Location no longer matters. It might matter for some buyers, but the reality is new competitors are coming from everywhere digitally. So you need to be aware of that, right? Artificial intelligence, this is kind of the growing trend. Everyone's talking about it. But the reality is a lot of younger generations skew to this. They don't trust technology as much as humans, and sometimes more, and it's kind of like, whoa, wait. We know that the technology, let's say TurboTax, is full of all kinds of holes. And I'm just talking taxes, but it could be accounting as well. What you don't know, you don't know. So it's easy to make mistakes. And if you don't know the answer to A or B, it's kind of a situation where we as tax and accounting professionals know these people need assistance and guidance, but sometimes the group that we're trying to communicate with doesn't. So you must understand that a lot of people are starting to trust technology as much as humans, which means that technology is a direct competitor. Adaptation. So any practice not adapting to the digital technologies will be left behind. And we're seeing this already. And here's a stat that I think is important. We ran this 2,500 CEOs and small business owners. We did this through the CountyWorks brand, and we asked them, where do you go to find professionals? In the old day, referrals and word of mouth were by far the prominent source. But today, our survey showed 65% are using online reviews and social media. versus 59% referrals and word of mouth, and 40% are using search engines. So that kind of runs into the search engine, runs into the review sites, right? But the reality of the takeaway here is reviews have taken over referrals as the number one go-to. And this survey is on our CountyWorks website. We have some other items in there. The one that we like the most is accountants, again, are the number one trusted advisor. So if you want to see some more details on that survey, check out our website at another time. All right, so let's jump into the lifecycle side. And these are the 7 steps. I'm just going to walk you through them, and then we'll go into a slide for each one. But number one is obviously, you want to develop a strategy for the entire life cycle. And what I mean here is if you only are looking to do one, so let's say I'm here to attract as many prospects as possible, but you haven't had any data or any processes in place of how you're going to speak to those prospects, meaning, okay, now I have these leads, and even if you bought leads, what does that mean if I don't know how to respond to them, right? So you need to know how to start a conversation, qualify the leads, present your offer, address objections, close an onboard. So how are we going to now get them into being a client? And then from there, it comes down to retaining and gaining referrals. And that's more of the kind of the ongoing life cycle thing. So the goal is that when you gain a client, you want them for life, right? And the longer they're with you, the more they trust you, the more referrals they'll send. So let's jump in a little bit and kind of go through this side. So number one, attracting prospects. And part of this is, and we're going to go to what Google says, and it's basically how do you establish your expertise? How are you an authority and your trustworthiness, right? So there's a lot of different things that Google uses in their algorithm to determine how they decide which brands do those 3 things. And they use that then to rank your brand. But the same concept can be used with the way you think of your own marketing, right? So what am I really trying to do? Hey, I know I am an expert in this. I am better than anyone else out there. But if the world doesn't perceive you that way, you're not going to attract the prospects you want. So how do you set yourself up for that, right? So you need a website, your landing pages, your blogs, if you're using video vlogs, your social media presence, having a strong review profile on marketplaces like TaxBuzz and CountyWorks. Are you doing guest posts? Are you getting earned media? Meaning, are you being interviewed? So there's a lot of different ways that you can, reach out and kind of establish a digital footprint. And we'll go into that in a little more detail later. But that is how you start attracting prospects. So that's step number one. Step number 2 is, okay, your goal is to get these prospects, right? But the thing is, you want to hit them at different moments to help influence their decisions. And what I mean by that is, someone may not be at the intent level. So sometimes people are all I just want intent buyers. And that's kind of the old world of marketing that, I'm just looking for hot leads, and then, I will try to close it. But people don't buy that way anymore. There's, first of all, there needs to be an awareness that they have a problem, right? So now if they are aware, what do? They're going to research that problem. And at that point, hey, here's some different options. And you might be writing content, or you're doing speeches, or you're on social media talking about topics that they're looking at. And that's where you're going to be found when they're researching for that particular problem, right? Okay, I'm aware, I know I need help here. I'm running out of money, or I'm starting a business, I have no idea where to start. So they're going to start researching, how do I start a business? So are you, as a tax and accounting pro, or let's just say here as an accountant, are you creating content? Is your website, are your social media profiles being indexed when they're researching? At that point, okay, they found you, they've researched it. Now, is that providing interest? So, hey, and now I know who this brand is, I'm interested. And from that point, it's taking them from the intent stage where, okay, now I feel I have this problem, I'm ready to buy. And then we take you through kind of the onboarding, become a client, and into what we call the loyalty stage, is when they become a client, and then how do we keep them, right? So prospects are always open to influence. So we're trying to you want to develop content around this to help influence this stage. So I hope that kind of makes sense. I know these are higher level marketing things, but I think that just kind of jumping into them a little bit, I think you need to be aware of it so you understand how you should be running your own marketing. So qualified leads. And this is a big deal, especially in the internet age, because not all leads that come through the internet are who you want to talk to. And we hear a lot of pushback sometimes, well, there's no good leads on the internet. Well, that's not true. We've seen people pick up huge clients, clients that have paid 10, 20 times the amount of, a marketing subscription with us. So the issue then is, okay, how do I take a lead and, again, a lead is just contact information and some sort of intent, but how do I now make them a potential prospect? So, you need to establish what kind of clients am I looking for? So if I'm in a niche, am I looking for doctors, right? So you're looking for all kind of leads that that are doctors, they become prospects. So, are they a certain size of is it a new medical company? Is it someone that's been established? So what I'm getting at here is, kind of come up with your own game plan. It isn't necessarily a niche, but we are looking to grow these type of customers and then concentrate your efforts around those criteria, right? So once you qualify them, you can nurture around that. So you're going to have talking points that speak to their pain points, right? So how am I solving your problem, doctor, fitness club member, or owner, whatever it is. So that's kind of the way the whole qualify your lead side works. And I think it's very important to kind of establish that before you get too far, which leads us into, guess what, a polling question. So Alexa, jump on.
All right, it looks like we made it to our first polling question. So you guys will see the questions on the right-hand side of your screen, so you guys can go ahead and answer there. And we'll give you about 15 seconds to answer these. So the first question is, which of these is not a part of the client lifecycle? A, start a conversation. B, present your offer. C, chase after any potential leads. Or D, return and gain referrals. So we'll give you guys a few more seconds to answer those.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
All right, it looks like everyone's had a chance to answer.
All right.
So the correct answer is C, chase after any potential leads. So you're not going to want to do this. You actually want to qualify your leads, like Lee was saying, and make sure that they're potential prospects for your company.
All right, I love polling questions. All right, so back into the rest of the presentation. So section 4, presenting your offer. I think this is something that is now, I think there's more awareness on it. I've heard a little more feedback, but you want to make it easy for prospects to onboard, right? So if they're working with you, you don't want it to be all paper-based anymore. You want to make it easy. So here is my engagement letter. You sign it, right? Here's how you pay, this is how you communicate with me. This is, everything can be done online now. It can be easy. You want to take the friction away from presenting your offer and getting clients on board to work with you, right? So there's a lot of automation software, total different webcast topic, but there's a lot of different ways to do that. But definitely start looking into it. If you don't have a client portal per se, or some way to funnel the new clients. So this is totally different from establishing your digital footprint. This is, okay, now I have your attention. How am I going to take you through the process to become a client? Number 5, I think, is something people forget about. So, you need to think through what are some common objections to your pitch, right? So listen to your clients when you're talking to them. And when they do come up with whatever kind of what their perceived roadblock is, they raise an objection. Basically, we say a prospect who raises an objection is showing fear, right? So how are you going to address these fears? There's a lot of different ways. So have some data. We love case studies. We love facts. So and a perfect example for us is we did a blog article recently on our most successful tax and accounting brands, right? So customers of ours, what are they doing that are outdoing everyone else, right? And these are people that have literally thousands of visitors to their websites. They're getting hundreds and hundreds of leads and actually converting them to clients. So what are they doing differently? So if you can have that kind of data and kind of show your prospect how you're going to make their lives better, it makes it much easier for you to convert them, right? And we always say the best way to do this is to use 5-star reviews to let your clients do the selling for you. And a recent chat, we were talking about this subject, and what was interesting is someone said, well, yeah, Yelp gets me, there's one review on Yelp that almost every single time they'll even reference that review when they call me, and Yelp's getting me all this business. I'm like, well, no, Yelp is a place where someone has found you, but that review is getting you the business. So the deal is not Yelp per se. It's any review. So Google My Business, TaxBuzz, CountyWorks, Yelp, all of these, you want to have strong profiles on all of them. But the more important part is the client's story, the client doing the selling for you is more impactful than anything you can write on a website or any marketing copy. So I think that's kind of an important thing to think about, but use those as tools to help you address objections as you go through. All right, so close and onboard. We don't want them to feel after they've decided to work with you, to be all of a sudden you're non-responsive, right? You're not addressing or making it easy as they walk through. So humans want to feel good about their purchase choices, right? So after I've said, hey, I'm going to work with you, you want every single step after that decision to be perfect. So you want to have a lot of processes in place. You want to make sure everyone from the front office through the partners are on board and following a very similar deal. So we want them to feel like they made the right decision. This is going to be important on how much they trust you, right? How much they're going to worry, how easy it is for you to get them to do what you think, they should be doing these things. I think a lot of the onboard experience is going to assist you to have better relationships, but more importantly, it's easier for them to then become influencers, right? So if they have a very strong beginning with you, a lot of times right out the back, these clients will refer you to other people. You're fresh on their mind. They feel like they're validating their own decision. So if you really come through here and overperform, it's a great way to start the relationship. We've found through other clients' experiences, the better they are at this, the more referrals they're going to get. So that leads into the retain and gain referrals, right? So that's kind of my point is, now you've sold them, you've done the work, they're happy. How do you continue to engage that client? So you don't want to just be there one time and then disappear, right? The common things are, so what does that mean? How do I retain and gain referrals? Well, you're active on social media. So you're communicating where they are, right? That's push technology. You're able to push your message and your brand in front of them. You have an email newsletter. You have a blog. And what that does is it makes it very easy for your clients to actively talk up your firm, right? And that becomes a grade A referral. That's what you're looking for. So if you can take as much risk out of the referral process, so meaning that you are showing by your actions, you're responsive, your trustworthiness, your authority, because you're putting out all this great content on life cycles and how to start a business and cash flow and all those things, that is going to help you retain more clients, right? So there's ways. We have our system does this, but you can put client retention on autopilot, right? So we literally have a system. Our platform does everything for you. It writes the content. It auto-publishes the blogs. It's all perfectly timely. We do social media posting. When you get reviews, we actually take those reviews and post them to your social media sites automatically. This is brilliant. I mean, we see clients all the time. I built a WordPress site, and I haven't touched it since I built it. And I published 2 blog articles, but when someone goes on your site, those blog articles are from 2015 or whatever, right? So I think you get your point. But there are ways with marketing technology and automation software like ours that you can put this side of your business on autopilot. I think this is the biggest takeaway from this presentation today, is that anybody can do this. Get your client database together, get all your prospects together, and make this an active part of your business. That's a huge part of building any referral kind of business. So number 7 is a huge thing that sometimes people forget. All right, so kind of running into referrals don't happen in a vacuum anymore, right? And this is kind of one of the big changes that's happened. And we've talked about this, but I'm going to touch on a little more here. So the referral pipeline has dramatically been disrupted, right? And what do we mean by that? So word of mouth is obviously still important. People still ask, but they don't ask one person anymore. They're on Nextdoor and they're asking for referrals. They're on Facebook and they're asking their friends, hey, I need a new accountant. I'm starting a business. Who would you work with? So Nextdoor, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever that discussion is happening, the internet is now the middleman of that referral pipeline, right? So you have to have a presence there, right? Yeah, I'm building my business completely on referrals. Well, guess what? Those referrals are happening on social media now. And yes, you're growing your business that way, but you need to have a referral, a referral pipeline, so to speak, but you need to have things that will help influence that purchase behavior. And what I mean by that is, do you have your reputation online in other reviews? So when someone then refers you, is it easy for them to find backup? So if they Google your name, are they going to see a bunch of 5-star reviews about you? And it makes it much easier for them to take that next step and to call you. So what we're saying is, without a strong digital presence, so if you don't look like you're legit online, people aren't going to call you, right? So that's kind of the big change that has happened here. So kind of leads into, how do we get referrals outside your digital presence? So one thing that's still true is just ask, right? Ask for referrals, include it in your email newsletter, include it in your email signature. We even have a referral tool on our clients' websites that make it easy for them to refer their friends and colleagues. But be a little more proactive. Be proud of what you're doing, and even say, hey, my business is built on referrals. If you think we're doing a good job, please refer me. And I think that most people would feel great to do that for you. So, and we have some statistics here. 87% of contented customers would gladly pass along names. But guess what? And this is a different thing. This is about salespeople, but only 7% of sales reps even ever ask for them. And it's a very easy step to forget, but it's something you need to integrate within your kind of your marketing processes. So how do you get referrals outside your digital presence? And I referenced our referral tool, but this is where you use other marketplace types. So your Yelp, your TaxBuzz, your CountyWorks, integrating as some sort of referral tool within your own website. This will help you attract referrals naturally, right? And make it easy for you to refer the people to refer you. So you want to make sure that you have that presence. If someone asked on recommendations, and we did an article about the Facebook recommendations tool and how it's changed things. But if you don't have a presence, if they type in, hey, I work with so-and-so, it will hyperlink to your Facebook account where you'll have all these nice reviews. But if you don't have a social profile and another person refers someone else who does, most likely they're going to go where the easy low-hanging fruit, right? So I'm going to click on the link that takes me to someone who's on Facebook, and I will be able to tell right away, hey, this person looks great. I'm done searching. I'm moving on. I'm calling them. So that's kind of what we're saying. If you don't have a presence there, you're out of the conversation. So this one's the hardest thing to sometimes communicate, especially with newer brands, but patience and organic marketing versus PPC. And this kind of goes into immediate gratification and not being scatterbrained, so to speak. So first of all, let's talk about how Google ranks your brand, right? So it's going to be about content. So are you posting quality content? Are you an expert in certain subject matters? Are you publishing evergreen content, meaning certain topics that people are continuing? So how do I improve the cash flow for my business, right? That is what is evergreen content. So it's not maybe like a newsworthy, tax law change kind of thing. Evergreen is something that is will be good for years and years. And as you get indexed for that, and as you create content for that, you're going to get traffic from that content for years and years to come. Reviews are not just get a bunch of reviews today and then oh, I'm done. I have 20 reviews on my site. So what we do is we recommend people focus on the top sites. Google My Business is one of them. What we do with our TaxBuzz and CountyWorks is we can control that, right? So we can send out, we can be more proactive. Sites like Yelp will actually penalize you if you ask for reviews, and they also suppress a lot of reviews. What we like to do is the sites like GMB, Google My Business, our TaxBuzz, and CountyWorks, what we do is we build really strong review profiles on them, and then our reviews are actually syndicated to Google My Business. So when someone searches, Google My Business is obviously one of the first things that people see on when they search your name. They'll be able to see, here's some Google reviews, and here are the TaxBuzz and CountyWorks reviews. So this is a big deal. So having lots of reviews, especially fresh ones, are ranking signals to Google. Social media. We've been talking about it over and over again, but you need to be on social media. We'll get into a little bit more of kind of the importance of inbound links and some other things here in a little bit, but this is kind of the core stuff here. So polling question number 2, Alexa.
All right, so yes, we made it to polling question number 2. So true or false, the best way to get referrals outside of your digital presence is to just ask. So once again, go ahead and answer on your screen. We'll give you a few more seconds to answer this question. Should be pretty easy. All right. And the correct answer is true. Simply asking your clients is really the best way to get referrals.
Yeah, Alexa, you must have written these polling questions because these are, but you need to pay attention. So here you go. So let's talk about building your digital footprint. We have 8 components here. I'm going to go into a little bit of detail about each one. But these are kind of the elements that you need to establish a strong digital footprint. You want to be found, right? So what do you need to do? Create a high-performing website, and I'll get into details of what that means. A social media presence. Focus on verticals, citations and directories. What is social proof? It might be a term you've never heard of. In the marketing side, we talk about social proof all the time. Inbound links, Google My Business, and reviews. So let's start digging into this a little bit. So the high-performing website. So what I mean by that is you don't want the site, let's talk about it. You want it to accurately represent who you are, right? So what is the personality of your brand? What is kind of your target audience? So meaning, what is that website going to look like? What is it going to communicate? Your website should depict what you want visitors to think about you, right? It's really important to be modern looking, especially mobile friendly, so responsive websites. You need to have HTTPS security, and we'll talk about that later, but these are all components of what make a successful website. You have to have your bios on there. You have to have professional headshots. Those are the second to third most visited page of a website. People are looking, they want to know who is behind the brand, right? So they want to, kind of see that. We use a tool called Photo Filler, and we've written some blog articles showing the difference in conversion and what people think based on purely a headshot and a bio. And I see it all the time. No, I don't want to put that up. And we try to explain to clients, well, that's kind of, you're already, handcuffing yourself from being successful by not doing that. So you want to make sure you take the time and the effort to present yourself as well as you can. Conversion, having as many calls to action as possible on a site. So you want to convert as many people as possible. There's a whole, that's really an entirely another webcast on calls to action, how to do it. But you want to make it easy for people to contact you, right? So you don't want to make it hard. You don't want to hide your phone number, contact forms, things like that. Secondarily, social media. We've been talking about already, but social media is now an extension of your brand. People are actually communicating with your brand online. So, and we see it all the time, mostly on Facebook, actually. A lot of it does happen on LinkedIn. But Facebook for sure, a lot of interaction. They use the Facebook Messenger tool. Some people feel, I don't want to be interrupted. And I get that. But at the same time, you want to accommodate how your client base wants to communicate with you, right? So if they prefer that, be there, have a presence, right? And more importantly, the social media profiles tend to rank highly on Google search. So brands that are not, if you're comparing 2 brands side by side, and one brand has a robust website, they're putting content up, they have reviews, one doesn't have any social media, the other one does. So there's no social kind of ranking things for Google to look at. Most likely the one without the social media will not be ranked as high. So the ones that are doing it, the more you give Google kind of assurance that you are a trusted brand, the higher they rank you. So I hope that makes sense for you through this. So to continue on social media, there's a lot of stuff you'll find online anyways, but 85% of people rely on Twitter and Facebook for their morning news. That's crazy, right? And each social media site's a little bit different. So the way we use it on our own side when we develop and curate content for our clients is different for each one. And you'll notice different types of interaction. But the point is, these are all different funnels, different ways to reach out to your market. So reaching your target market via the internet has never been easier. Now think about this. If you're working on a vertical, you could have a social media group, and you could be an expert in whatever, and sharing information and sharing your expertise. And it's a way that you could garner new clients and prospects, and even become a referral source. Or guess what? A newspaper, local newspaper person is looking to, or a blogger is looking to write an article about X. They Google, they find you, right? Your digital footprint is strong, and guess who they're going to interview, right? So these are the ways. This is why this is important. And sometimes you may not get as much action directly through these profiles, but trust me, it is making a difference. So I talked about this a couple times already, but focusing on verticals. And the reason it's so nice to focus on verticals is, one, you obviously, from doing your job, the more you have an expertise in a particular type of problem solving, it's easier for you to do your job, right? You've seen this issue 12 times. You know the answer. You know how to get people through this, and you don't have to do all the research as if it's from scratch. More importantly, there's a perceived feeling that you know more than the other person. And someone, enrolled agents and tax pros don't get upset, but let's say two CPAs, one is a general CPA, one is an entertainment CPA, and someone is comparing the two, and I am an actor or a producer. My perceived value is that entertainment CPA has more knowledge and would be better for me than the general CPA, even though you could probably argue that's not true. But it is kind of a marketing side, and it's more perception. So, use that to your advantage. So figure out your niche, focus on very specific industries. And what's nice about it too, is if you develop content around it, there's less competition and rankings, right? So if someone is looking for accounting services, that's a broad term. But if I'm looking for accounting services for a McDonald's franchise, that is a much narrower term, right? So expat taxes is another example, right? So if you focus on these niches, there's less competition. It's easier to rank for your keywords, easier for you to stand out. So it's a whole, on our consulting side, is a whole nother angle of the way we use to build firms. But it's definitely something, if you're not doing it now, look into it. This is kind of the back end, the deep web, whatever you want to call it, by citations and directories. And a lot of these don't necessarily drive traffic to you, but what they are used for is signals to Google of how accurate the information about you online is. So when we say citations and directories, we mean like yellow pages and a lot of directory sites, super pages, all these, there's all kinds, they come and go now, but there's hundreds and hundreds of them. And what you want is that Google and the search engines will see a consistent name, phone number, address, location, right? So the more, it's called NAP settings. So the more consistent that is across the internet, the more likely Google will say, hey, this is a legitimate brand, and the information about them is current, right? So think about that. So it's all an algorithm doing this, and that's why it's kind of a necessary evil to spend the time and the money to build out your citations and directories. Because if you Google yourself and you've moved and you have 3 different addresses and 4 different phone numbers, Google looks at it as a signal, and that's a bad signal. So you want to make sure your citation and directory listings are as updated as possible. That's part of our growth package, our VIP, our K2 and Whitney packages. We do all this for our clients. So we'll go out there and optimize all of the directories and push out all that data so that it helps them rank higher. And it 100% works. We've been doing this for a long time, and we've seen it. So it's definitely something, if you have not looked at, you need to kind of concern yourself with that. My favorite term, so social proof. Sometimes people say, what do you talk about social proof? So, how do you prove you are who you claim to be through others backing you up, right? So this can be reviews, testimonials, social media. It matters what other people say about you. And it is unfortunate in today's age that sometimes it feels a little fake, right? But that's not really the way I look at it. So how do I build my social proof to make others perceive me as a leader in what I'm doing, right? So I want other people to talk about me. When I'm on social media or I post on TaxBuzz Twitter, I want people to engage my content. And that kind of validates to others, hey, these guys know what they're talking about, right? So getting quoted in media, getting endorsements from peers, all of that is things that help through the buying cycle. So when people are looking at you and comparing you to other brands, right, you want to, it's almost like a tool. It kind of reassures them. So these are all the things that go into kind of the psychology behind who they choose to work with. So social proof is a huge element in the buying process. Inbound links. So this is by far the hardest part of, and this is, getting into search engine optimization. And here's an example for you. And Google says high quality content and link building are the two most important signals used by Google to rank your website for search, right? So a brand like Apple, do you think they care about SEO at all? No, they could care less. They build their site to be as pretty as possible and simple as possible from a user experience point of view, but they know that every time they push content out, they're going to have every major newspaper, blog, CNN, whoever, writing about them, sharing them, and that is where they get all this authority from. So that's where all their inbound links come from. Essentially, it's a vote of trust, right? It's credibility and authority that helps your ranking. So as a tax and accounting, a smaller brand, how do you do that? That is getting interviewed, being featured on the local newspaper or whatever, the blog sites. That's making sure that you have links to your site and as many profiles that you own as possible. This could be updating your college profiles. This could be updating all these different directory sites. So anywhere that you can get an inbound link, and not all of them are follow. This is follow, no follow. There's all these technical things, but I don't want you to get confused on that. The issue is, if you want to compete with others, the more links you have, the better. That's just kind of, and there's a difference between quality links and no quality links. You don't want to buy them, blah, blah, blah. But what we found is it doesn't take many, especially in the tax and accounting space. You can get a couple local links or links from others like us. So we have a Q&A, a free feature for our profit margin and higher clients, and we do a monthly Q&A where we ask some questions, and we then curate content. We write articles about those answers, and we're basically showing you, we're spotlighting the pros that answer these, but we're giving them inbound links to their sites, and those add up, right? So that is a difference maker when it comes to ranking. Google My Business. I can't tell you how important we call it GMB, so how important the GMB profiles are. But if you don't have one now, as soon as this is over, go claim your Google My Business listing. You want to update it. You want to attract reviews there. But this is what shows in the Google Maps. This is what is now prominent in the search results. And that's a lot of times people may not even get to your website. They're going to go through the Google My Business profile and make a decision on who they're going to call, right? So this is really, really important to make sure that you're optimizing it and keeping it updated. We do this for our clients, but if you're not one of our clients, it's definitely something you should look at after this webcast. A little more statistics as this helps. More than 92% of mobile searches worldwide are through Google. Okay, so it's safe to say that having an updated GMB page is important, right? And this is a huge part in the signals that Google uses for ranking. So again, if there's one takeaway from this webcast today, Google My Business, Google My Business. All right, so reviews. We've talked about them quite a bit. There's a theme through this presentation, but like anything, what have you purchased recently that you did not look at what other people say about it? And you also know the difference between the crazies that are writing, a 1-star review and there's 15 other, 5-star reviews. It's easy to tell, and don't get discouraged if you have one, discontent, who wrote something poorly about you. But what I'm getting at here is you need to be proactive here. You need to go out and attract the 5-star review profile way ahead of anyone going in and landing you or giving you a 1-star review. So what I'm getting at is we use many of our different tools. We're very proactive and have built out literally pros with hundreds of reviews. So reviews are going to be an important part of what you're doing as far as converting people and referrals, right? So it's not just about online leads. So Some stats: 97% of consumers say they read reviews about local businesses. We all do it. We all know it. I mean, again, there's a reason the review or the Amazon marketplace is what it is. You can easily go shop in a marketplace, compare products, compare what people are saying about them, purchase. So how do you get reviews? You ask. We have an entire system in place that kind of runs on its own, and we've been very successful in building out reviews. We get literally thousands and thousands of reviews for our clients, and it's a huge differentiator from kind of what we do to what others do. And you got to think about it. 7 out of 10 consumers will leave a review for a business if they're asked to. So just ask, right? So that's kind of what we're getting at. So be a little more proactive on that, which leads us to, we're already at polling question 3. We're getting closer to the 50 minutes. So we'll start rolling this up, and then we do have a Q&A at the end. So we'll have some time for, I think, 5 questions or so, but go ahead, Alexa.
All right. So what is the best way to get reviews? We have A, hope that clients will leave them, B, pay for them, C, ask clients for reviews, or D, more advertising. So go ahead and answer that question.
I definitely know which one I like.
Yep. We just hammered it into their brains. All right. And all the answers are in. So we have C, ask clients for reviews. So once again, asking our clients for reviews and referrals is actually the best way and the way that you're most likely to get them.
All right, so we're kind of wrapping this up. I wanted to jump into here, like how to use technology to foster client relationships. And we've touched on many of the issues here, but what I don't know how to explain it a little better, but we want you to understand the client onboard experience is a differentiator now. So it's not just being good at what you do. It's not just, doing a good service. Somebody who does it better and makes it easier for your clients, whether that be a taxpayer or a business owner, if they make it easier, they have a kind of a cooler, newer tool, that might be enough of a differentiator for them to say, hey, I might try this out. Or more importantly, when people are looking to choose new people. So I get it. The client retention side, if you're really good at your, what you're doing, hey, they wouldn't leave me just because of this, right? But new clients will look at it and say, what is the easiest way for me to get this done? That's kind of, that's the way people think now. So having a strong technology-driven client onboard experience is important. What does that mean? Secure portals. And why I like secure portals is that you can personalize this to each client versus kind of like a Dropbox type of product, right? And it's more, there's other things you can push there. You can push your newsletter content, due date reminders. There's it's much more than just sharing documents. So we're bullish on secure portals, using e-sign technology. There's new requirements on knowledge-based authentication, ID checks. We're coming out with a new kind of online ID check service. These are things that are going into IRS compliance, right? But they also make it easier, not just for you to comply, but easier for your clients to comply. Online communications to cut down on paper things. Third-party integrations like Receipt Bank is a great one, right? So how can I make my clients' lives easier if I guide them to use these type of tools? So that is also why the clients trust you, right? They trust accountants. They want to work with accountants, and these are kind of some of the elements that make that happen. So I think this is a very important takeaway as well. So the secondary one is building brand trust with security. We see this. I can't tell you how many websites are out there right now in the tax and accounting space. You're dealing with their client private data, like their social security numbers, their income, their children, everything about it. If it's a business, all their books. They don't have SSL certs or HTTPS on their sites. They're not using CAPTCHA to protect their web forms or bad actors spamming them. You can tell if your site's secure or not by the little lock in the browsers, right? And then many browsers will point blank have a warning up before someone goes there. So just think, someone was just referred to you, and the first thing they see is a non-secure website. I mean, what do you think happens? They just bounce. They're going to go somewhere else. They want to feel trust that you care about their data. So I hope you at least will secure your website to start, right? So I think that's a big deal. We build that into all of our products automatically. So we put security as a big deal. But I want you to also, maybe go back and look at your own stuff now and see how that's working. You want to, it protects your web users for having their identity or private information intercepted. That's why it's important. But more importantly, I kind of alluded to this. On our TaxBed site, when we threw it onto HTTPS, we increased our leads by 125%. So this is the forms on our sites. That's how big of a bump we got just by making the HTTPS change. And it was a big deal for us because we had to re-index the site. It's easier for smaller firms, but we have 600,000 people in there. It's an interesting dilemma, but anyways, it definitely worked. So as I was saying, SSL certs are built into CountyWorks Pro into our platform automatically. So security, think about it. Commitment and patience. And this is what we see people just think, oh, I'm going to put this up, or I'm going to put a website up, but I'm not going to load my client database or send an email newsletter. I'm not going to do social media. I don't want to get reviews. And then, 3 months later, I don't have any traffic, or I'm not doing as well as I should. No kidding. I mean, think about it. A web visitor comes to your website. They don't have any social proof to kind of say, hey, this person actually does what they say they're going to do. You're not using all the tools that your competitors are using. So it's kind of logical to us that you need to do that. You need to be committed to your success. And these are kind of the elements we've talked about in this webcast. You need to do all of them to be successful. A lot of it can be automated, but you have to do it. And if you don't do it, a lot of times what we see is kind of this scatterbrained implementation. I heard that I need a lead magnet. And you're like, what do you mean a lead magnet? I need a download a white paper for visitors and they will become customers because of that. Well, that's great if you have 5, 10, 20,000 visitors a month to your sites. We use it all the time. We have lead magnets all over the place. A site with 25 visitors, how many people are going to download that white paper and choose you because of it? So what I'm getting at is, don't get mixed up in the noise. Understand there's other ways you should spend your time. Before you have this lead magnet, you need to build that digital presence. You need to have that social media set up. You need to have all those citations ready. You need to have that nice responsive website. Now let's put in a lead magnet for a vertical, right? And that makes sense. Now let's add PPC. But just trying to, I heard here or there, I went to, my favorite is sometimes, so-and-so at a tax seminar told me this, from a tax expert, and they're talking about Section 199A. Great, they might know what they're doing there, but just because this old school thinking occurs does not mean that's what's working anymore. So I hope I've shared with you enough things here that kind of show you, kind of how it works and what's important. But it takes 4 to 6 months minimum to start showing results. So be patient, and once you get it, it builds upon itself. Every once in a while I see people punt too early, and they've already tripled or quadrupled the amount of traffic, and they're on their way to being a successful practice, and it's not working. It's like, well, it is working. Look what you've done. You need to be patient and kind of, roll with this and keep with it. And it will definitely, all of our successful accounts, we have a whole section on CountyWorksPro.com, a case study section. Please read them. You'll see what people are doing, the results they're getting. And those are the leading growth people, so it 100% works. Which kind of gets into a little bit of a salesy type pitch. Our system is a perfect way to start. So if you're having any questions on how to do a lot of this information, or how to get a lot of these concepts into place, that's kind of what we do. That's our expertise. So we're getting close to jumping into the Q&A section, so we'll do the last polling question.
Yep. So lastly, do you want to improve your marketing ROI in 2019? So just go ahead and give your yes or no answer.
Yeah, this is probably the easiest question we saved for last, but
yep.
Yes, it's kind of a trick question, I know, but we'll give a few more seconds to answer this one, and please do. And anyone, even if you're not doing CPE, answer this question, and it'll help us actually know who to reach out to. So I'm going to go ahead and move past this one. I do want to thank you for spending the time with us. I know marketing and the tax and accounting, especially all the digital stuff, is a little overwhelming for people. But believe it or not, there are processes that work. There are systems like ours that are fully automated that do it all. And these are things that are working today and will help your practice kind of remain competitive in the digital age. But again, I want to thank you for joining us and kind of lead into, if you've stayed this long, before we get into the Q&A, Steve, you can kind of jump on. We actually do want to sell some things here. So let's introduce some of the products.
Sounds good, Lee. Like you were mentioning kind of throughout this system here, the systems influence referrals and influence clients. And so what we do with our website membership packages and obviously our premier memberships with TaxBuzz and CountyWorks, we do have some introductory offers. So up to 60 days after this, definitely let us know. We're able to talk to you and communicate with you and see if what we do can benefit your business. But we're going to give you 20% off for the first 3 billing months and on the website bundles. And then we're also looking at on our TaxBuzz premium memberships and our CountyWorks premium memberships. We are looking at giving you $100 off for the annual subscription.
I thought you said 100%. I was like, whoa, this is a good offer.
Sorry, $100 off your premium membership package. And then we are going to go ahead, because you've seen the value of the system, we're going to waive the setup fees. We are engaging with you. We want to make sure we're here to build success for each individual person. So, we're going to be all in and waive setup fees, get the people started, get them up to a level that they can get the trust from their clients. But more importantly is make their clients feel comfortable. And we build full communication systems.
I love it. Well, thank you, Steve. And I feel, I don't know, again, who approved all these discounts, but it's obviously some nice offers. So we're going to jump into the Q&A side. Alexa, I know we're kind of running long, so we'll just maybe do 5 to 7 questions. If you can just pull up something, and we'll go from there.
All right, let's see. So the first question I have is from Carrie. She asked, where can she get content for her newsletter and social media sites?
Well, obviously we write that for you. And one of the big challenges is curating your own content is, especially in this space, it's not like you can go hire some gig writer and say, hey, I need an article about tax reform, because they don't understand, the subject. I mean, look at all of the articles that were written about tax reform that were on some of the major trades, and you go in and read them, and they're like, they don't even understand the concepts they're talking about, and they're giving out bad advice, right? So we do have a starter level subscription that people can use to access our library of articles and content. So this is both tax prep versions, IRS, QuickBooks tips, small business tips. And it's kind of a low-cost way to do it. So instead of having to come up with an idea, research the idea, write the idea, then get it technically proofed to make sure that it's accurate, and then find images and put it all together, we do that for you. So we do have some options there. We also have some automated social media programs. If you're on our higher level growth packages, we actually are posting for you every day and across multiple social media profiles. So this has been huge for our clients. It keeps your brand in front of them, daily. It's kind of free advertising as well, right? But we've figured out it costs. If you did what we did with the amount of content, we did over 50 articles on tax reform alone in the last 12 months. And that didn't include the other 200 and some articles and videos. We're talking $20,000, $30,000 in labor just in pure costs, right? So being able to get that done and being able to showcase your expertise and communicate it, I get it. I understand why it's hard. We see a lot of people that try it out in the beginning on their own, do a couple articles, and then all of a sudden their site becomes a dinosaur site. But we definitely are an option for you. So our phone numbers there, the websites, you can visit there and kind of see what option might work for you. But I hope that answers your question.
All right. And then we have Lily from Texas. She stated, I'm afraid of getting bad reviews. So not really a question, but what would you tell someone who says this?
Well, that is possible, right? I mean, we've gotten them. We've gotten them from people who aren't even clients, right? So people are, so I get it. But the reality is I wouldn't be afraid of getting a bad review. I'd be afraid of not having 20 5-star reviews before a bad review comes up, right? So you never know when you're going to have a run-in with someone who's, unrealistic, and it's something that you can just be proactive with. So in our experience with thousands and thousands of clients, they occasionally, some of our clients will get a 1-star review. We do have we've written some blog content on how to respond, how to deal with it. But the reality is, no, it's 98% is 5-star reviews and people telling your story better than you ever could. So I wouldn't be afraid of it. I would put yourself out there. As we showed earlier, I think, 87% of people would provide a review if asked. So, do a good job and they'll do it.
Awesome. All right. So, and then we have a question from Drew in Florida. He says, I built my own website on WordPress, but I find it hard to update. What are your suggestions?
You must have sent that question before I spoke about it. But yeah, so there's 2 challenges. And one of the things I see is, a relative or somebody's cousin or niece or whatever wants to build a site. A website is just one component of a marketing strategy, right? So we are a complete turnkey digital strategy provider. We definitely, anyone that ever calls us a website company, I actually get upset, right? So, but when it comes to having a WordPress or kind of the DIY side, it's hard. I mean, you're busy. You want to spend your time working with clients and billing, right? Getting that recurring revenue. You want to really put your marketing side on autopilot. So, from a technical standpoint, I mean, think about all the issues that go into building a website. Is the SEO correct? Are the meta titles and descriptions correct? I mean, there's a whole nother webcast we can talk about how to write a meta description and how that relates to your click-through rates on Google. And then as you get more click-throughs, so meaning writing the meta descriptions and titles in a certain way, they're kind of like mini ads, and if people look at them and they start converting or clicking on one more than the other, your ranking is going to increase. So that's a huge differentiator. And again, I see so many dinosaur sites, where you visit them and they haven't been updated since they launched, and maybe they tried a couple of weeks, but they're like, oh, we can do this we're going to save so much money. Well, quote unquote, you're saving so much money, you're losing so much money. How much business are you losing by having that dinosaur site up there? So I hope that makes sense. Unless you have a complete, marketing department and you're paying, salaries and all that kind of stuff, I usually recommend against it unless you're really active. But those are my 2 cents there.
All right. And that was great. Melanie wants to know how to build your social media following.
And Alexa, you can add here too, but social media following, there's first I would establish it on all of your, all the main profiles, right? But include it in all your email signatures, make it prominent on your website. We actually have emails that we've created, like automated emails that we will send to our clients' databases and say, hey, we're on Facebook now. I'd love to follow you. Please follow me. And, we're going to share this type of information. That is a great way to start. You can also load your database into the social sites, right? And then people will start, you'll be able to connect through there. You can do invitations. So those are some big items that can help you build the social following. But the other thing is, one is building it, but you need to be able to put some content on it, right? So where are you going to get that content from? We do that for our clients. We curate content. We know what people respond to. We cover timely issues. People just don't want you sharing, the latest Accounting Today article every day, right? So there's more to it, but those would be some elements that I would jump at right away. Load the databases. Make sure you're consistently posting. There's different rules of thumb on each social site on how often you should post, and you can Google that and kind of figure it out. But those would be some my initial recommendations.
Yeah, and I agree. And also there's like certain times you should be posting things. So also look into that. You can find that out usually with a simple Google search. And then moving on, Kim says she is just starting out and doesn't have any clients yet. So what should she do about reviews? How would she get reviews?
Don't make them up. So I would, there's pro bono work. There are friends and colleagues that you probably could assist their businesses and ask, and just say, hey, I'm just starting out. can you help me out? So yeah, it's a little gray area, seeding it a little bit, but I think it is important enough to put the effort in. And once you start gaining those clients, make sure that database is your number one asset, right? If you go to sell your practice, what do they care about? How many clients do you have? What are they spending? What are your retention rates? So the more active you are in communicating with your clients, right, the higher your retention rates, everything else. But some pro bono work will help, and even make it part of the deal. Hey, I'll help you out here, but I'd love to get a referral. A review. So those would be kind of the things I would do. And then again, helping out friends and family, people that know you, trust you. They're not providing guidance that isn't trustworthy. I mean, obviously they know you well enough to say something. So that's kind of the way I would work with that.
Yep. And Bill from Torrance, he asked, should I use paid advertising like Facebook and Google AdWords?
Depends, right? So the whole purpose of today's discussion was we recommend organic first. So, and when we say organic, it's all the non-paid ways. So building that website, getting that blog going, getting the social media posts going, getting that review profile built out, setting up your verticals, things like that. All of that is gonna deliver for you for years and years and years, and there's no recurring budget. Google is rich enough. Facebook is rich enough. It's much harder for smaller independent brands to compete against the big brands when it comes to pay-per-click stuff. That being said, we 100% have clients who have been very successful doing PPC stuff. Facebook, Google AdWords, retargeting, things like that. But the budgets need to be there. And a lot of times people are unrealistic. And if you think about a click costing $10, $5 each time, a budget of a couple $100 a month is gone very quickly. And it also takes, I'm going to say 30 to 60 days probably to optimize a PPC campaign, meaning you don't necessarily need to pay the most to get as many clicks, and the way you rank, it's hard to explain too much here on the way it works. But if your ad is better and more relevant and getting more clicks, that actually makes Google more money, right? So you may get more activity there. We try to optimize our clients that we do the paid stuff for through a process. But it's definitely, the budgets need to be robust, and you need to be fully committed. But I would not go there until all of my, quote unquote, my digital footprint was well established.
All right. And the last question that we're going to take is...
Yeah, we're coming up. Yeah, we're late here. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to take the last one. So it's James, and he says that he wants to talk over our services and what are the next steps.
Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you get a few moments, definitely either one, shoot us back an email here. We're definitely going to happy answer questions for you in regards to our services. But then also on the screen there's the 800 number. Just hit extension 3. That will come directly to me, and I will definitely answer and address your questions, give you some more information, some insights, and then just make sure what we do is going to be a benefit to your business. And from there, we can go through the options.
Awesome. So I think we'll wrap it up here. Again, as Steve said, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us through those numbers or connect with me on LinkedIn or any of our other social profiles. We do engage our clients. We do like to talk about our subject that we know very well. And I mean, we really want everyone to be very successful. We are a huge kind of asset to you. We want the independents to compete, and we want you to dominate. We believe in the services you provide, and you do make a difference. So we appreciate you spending the time today with us, and we look forward to seeing you again on another webcast. Have a good one. Thank you.